Okay, so welcome everyone to our third and final Zentangle of this series in January. We've been playing around with the tan Renaissance tiles and highlighting and shading in the style of Leonardo da Vinci, who did a lot of his prep work on a sort of tan colored paper like we've been using. And that red pencil that we were playing with also is a color that he used a lot in his sketches. As we emulate our Renaissance artists, we are also uncovering a layer of our own artistry. And when the Project Pack 28 came out, they were only bundling this size square tan tile in the project packs. So I went online and I found a paper that I thought would be similar, and I cut it to the right size, just as a little way to be a little bit more economical. But you will notice that it doesn't have quite the same texture as the other Zentangle paper that we use. I like it. It's very smooth, and the ink doesn't sink as far into the paper as it does with the official Zentangle tile. So it's a different experience. I like it, and we'll see how you feel about it. Before we dive in, let's take some deep breaths together. Let's transition from what was to where we are now. I'm happy to not be in traffic in my car anymore. So I hope that what you're coming from is more pleasant than that. But nevertheless, let's set an intention and make some mental space for ourselves here. So if you care to, you can close your eyes. Take a deep breath in with me and let it out. Relaxing your shoulders away from your ears, sitting tall in your seat, breathing in and breathing out. Let your feet be flat on the floor. Let your hands rest in your lap. Relax your fingers, relax your toes. Another deep breath in and let it out. So as you keep breathing, you can listen to my voice. Tonight's tile has a lot of repetition, and it requires patience, but I think in that repetition and the time that it takes, you'll hopefully be able to settle in and enjoy a sense of flow, not having to think too much about what comes next. You just let one stroke follow after another over and over and over again. And I hope that you enjoy what unfolds on the tile the way that I did when I was working on my prep tile earlier today. It's worth the time and energy that we're going to put in this next little bit of time. And so with that in mind, go ahead and set an intention for yourself, whether it's calm or patience or flow, self-care, self-compassion, whatever it may be. Bring that word or phrase to mind. See it in your mind's eye. Come back to it when you find yourself straying from it, because it's inevitable. Our minds wander. Make it something positive and something meaningful for you. Let's take one more deep breath together. Let it out. And we'll begin. All right, so we're going to start. Because we have a little bit more room to play in, we can have a little bit more of a border and give some more space. Is it better if I go like that? Do you want to see it? Do you think it's better to see the whole thing? Maybe I'll go back and forth. I kind of like having it close in so you can see. All right, so about a 1/2 inch in from each corner. If you go diagonally, that's probably about 1/2 inch. I'm drawing it darker than you. I'm with my pencil. I'm going to make my 4 dots, one in each corner. I'm going to turn my tile. And then I'm going to connect my 4 dots in pencil. And don't worry too much about whether they're perfectly straight or not. My hand is squeaking on my table. I promise it's nothing other than that. Okay, and once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and do it again. We're going to make another set of dots about the same distance in towards the center. We're going to create a little bit of a frame for the work that's going to go inside. I'm still with my pencil, and after I've made those 4 dots, I'm going to connect those as well. Okay, so we've got something like that to begin. Now, we're going to go in with our brown, and we're going to do a tangle called Crazy Huggins. Huggins is a favorite of mine. I love to draw it. I use it all the time. It's very versatile. You can do a lot with it. It fits in a lot of places, and you can put a lot of things inside it as well. So Crazy Huggins kind of has a mind of its own. It does its own thing. But once you get the hang of it, it's really fun. So we're going to start towards the center, and I'm going to make 4 orbs any which way. Maybe watch me this first time before you do anything. I'm going to make the orbs slightly different sizes. I don't want them to line up too evenly. I really want them sort of wonky. Okay, so just sort of any which way, and they're probably about, I don't know, 1.5 inches each apart each. So we want a nice space to work in. So don't make them too close together. Give them some room. Okay. So now this is the important part right here. Think of these 2 as going to be, if you imagine a square here, these make some kind of a weird 4-sided shape. Okay, this is one side. This is the right side, this is the left side, and then you have a top and a bottom. So right now, I'm going to look at the right side, and we're going to make a C shape that curves from the top of this one down to the bottom of this down. Now, you don't want to go, it's not a backward C. It's important that it's a C shape with the opening going in this direction. So I'm going to take off and land like that. It's like an old-fashioned telephone receiver. Okay, now we've got these 2 over here. We want this telephone receiver to be facing in the opposite direction. So now we are making a backwards C shape. We want these 2 receivers to be facing away from one another. So you can draw it in the air. So I'm going to take off and curve around this way and come down here. Okay, so our 2 weird phone receivers are facing away from each other. Everybody good so far? Did that happen the way we wanted it to? Okay, great. So that's the basis. That's the hardest part. Okay, so now we have an open top and an open bottom. We want to seal that up. So I'm turning my tile. So now it's a left and a right again. Now on the top or the left-hand side now, it's a C shape again to close one side. Okay, and if you turn your tile so that the open end is on the left again, I'm doing it this way probably because I'm a lefty, but you know, if you want to turn your tile so that the open side is on the left, then again you can make a C shape to close the figure. Okay, so hopefully you ended up with something like that. Great, I see heads nodding. That's a good sign. That's the hardest part. Yay. Okay, good. So I think it gets easier from here. So now I'm going to turn it back this way again. We already have two orbs. So now we just need to make two more to make this shape again. Okay, so I'm make them, you know, different sizes and it kind of in different positions. Okay, and I'm going to turn my tiles so I can think of them as those C and backward C shapes again. Okay, so here I'm looking at these two dots here by my fingers. Okay, and then this is the other side over here. So they're funny shapes, they're not even, but we can apply the same technique. So I'm going to make my telephone receiver with these two guys here, same way. That one is a C shape. Okay, and then I have these two over here, but I want the receiver facing the other direction. So this one's going to be a backwards C shape, curving from here down to here. Okay, it looks funny, but it's the right idea. Okay, and now this is our one end that's already been closed for us because it was a part of the other shape. If you'd like, turn your tile so that you are going to close this new shape that we've just made with a C shape. Okay, so now you should have two wonky, weird Huggins that are sort of connected. Yes? Great. Okay, let's do another one that's coming out of the other side over here. Okay. So again, I'm gonna try to stay within my border that we've made here. So, but I'm gonna come up close to it with some other orbs like so. All right. These two are gonna get connected here with a C shape. And then on the other side, the next two are going to be a backwards C shape. And then we have the top that's been closed for us. If you turn your tile so that the open end is on the left, you can make another C shape to close this Huggins. Okay, let's make a few more. So from here on, you can place yours however you want them, as long as they're sort of growing out of some of the shapes that we've already made, but we want to try to fill the center of our tile. So I'm going to turn mine so that here's the top of one, and I'm going to add another set of orbs here and here. Okay, so I'm going to connect these two with a C shape. And these two over here get a backwards C shape facing away from the ones I just drew. Turning my tile so that the open end is facing to the left and making a C shape to close. Let's see, where do we want to go next? I'm going to make one, so that kind of is going to hang out. I'm going to make one here, an orb there, and an orb over here. And I'm going to connect these here. Like that. And then the backward C shape there. Turn my tile so that the open end is facing left and close that top there. Now, it just so happened that, I don't know if this will be the same on your tile or not, but I have one that's already three-sided now, just based on how I drew the other ones randomly. So I'm just going to close this figure off here with a backward C shape. That just kind of worked out. I did not plan it that way. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more, just filling the space a little bit more. So I have some room over here that is sort of inviting another one, another Huggins. It's going to be a stout little one. So I'm going to close this side with a C, close this side with a backward C, turn my tile so that the open end is facing left, close that. And I think just one more for me over here, but you look at your tile and you do what is going to work best for your tile. Just taking your time, thinking about what direction your phone receivers need to go in. Okay, so I'm going to leave mine like that. I could add some more, but I'm going to leave it alone for right now. We good? That was the hardest part. Now we get a break from thinking really hard and we just do some aura-ing. So we're going to aura inside our shapes. We're going to start just with the sides. So, just with those telephone receivers, a nice, tight, precise aura on the inside of the space. And I'm going to do that with all of those interior ones to start. Turn your tile as you go. I don't really have a rhyme or reason for the order that I'm moving around the tile to do this. It's just kind of look and see where I'm going next and just do it. Move some of my tools out of the way. And by the way, you can do Huggins as a grid, and that's maybe an easier way to go if you're first learning how to draw Huggins. But I I prefer it as crazy Huggins because it takes on a life of its own. It's more interesting. Um, so then you'll see that some of your caps, your tops are not did not get an aura because they're kind of hanging out on the outside. So then we're going to go back around on the outside and aura on the outside edge of those caps that didn't get an aura before. Take your time turning your tile. Relax your drawing hand. I find it a little bit tricky to do that all in one stroke, and I inevitably get some wobbles, but in the end, it doesn't affect the overall design. Okay, so this looks great. I'll give you a second to finish that. All right, so now Huggins needs something on the inside, and we're going to do this really simple application that just looks so beautiful. So pick a corner. I'm going to start in the top right, and I'm going to curve down a gentle S curve down to the bottom left. So I'm cutting diagonally through, I just started with the biggest Huggins, through the big Huggins. Okay, and then we're going to do an aura, but it's a tethered aura. So it's connected to this first one at the top and maybe at the bottom, or maybe it kind of just gets close down at the bottom. You'll see what I mean. It's going to get wider in the middle and then taper on either end. And you can see I'm drawing it in the air to kind of imagine where it's going to go. And I'm going to the left, but again, I think that's because I'm a lefty. If you want to start to the right, you start to the right. So I'm auraing that first line that I drew. And it comes out a little bit wider in the middle, and I'm going to do it again and again and one more time. So it's kind of a wavy striping. And I want to do the other side as well, but for me, I want to turn my tile upside down so that I can, or turn it 100 and, what is that, 180 degrees, 90 degrees, so that I now can keep my drawing hand in the same position and do the same thing on the other side. Okay. And we're going to do that in every one of our Huggins shapes. So if you want to watch again, I'm starting from the top right hand corner and making a gentle curving S down to the bottom left. And then I'm drawing a curving tethered aura, filling the space on one side.
Micah, we're doing this in all of them, so it doesn't matter which one we do next.
Correct. Yep, we're going to do this in every one. It's part of what I was talking about. It's a lot of repetition, but I really enjoyed that about this tile. So go at your own pace. Because they're all different shapes and sizes, how we fill the inside will be different too. So we're responding to what we've already put down, and so it's never exactly the same thing twice. If your mind is wandering, come back to your intention. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Relax your face. Smile if you care to. How lucky are we that we get to have this time together on a Wednesday evening? I love it so much. So grateful to all of you for being on this Zentangle journey together. I know I've said it before, but I never imagined when I became a cantor that I'd get to be doing art with you all as well too. It's really great. These curving lines, these auras that we're drawing have so much movement and energy. And it's such a simple thing. I love that. I'll give you another minute to finish that. If you are done with all of your tethered auras, you can always go in. I like to Add a little weighting in the corners. It's like when like the ink has settled in the crevices a little bit. Totally optional, just plain. All right, so we're gonna add some shading, but still with our brown pen. So we're not gonna do anything with the pencils yet. I think we did it, we did some like cross hatching, like some feathered lines in one of our other tiles we worked on recently. But so in the on the top and bottom of each of our Huggins shapes, where we just put all of these lovely tethered auras, I'm just going to go in and I'm like flicking my pen and making some little hash marks. So I'm starting on the outside edge and pulling my pen towards me and then releasing pressure so that it kind of feathers and tapers. Harder to explain than to just show you. And I'm going to go around and do this on each one. They're like, it's like eyelashes. That's the best way I can describe them. So go ahead and add, maybe we're putting mascara on our on our crazy Huggins. And it's up to you whether they're more of a natural lash or a false eyelash. You decide how bold you want to go with them. You can see I'm turning my tile so that I'm always, when I'm working on these, what I'm now calling eyelashes, I'm always pulling the pen towards me into the center of the Huggins shape. And this is a technique that you can use probably on almost any tangle if you want to make do some really bold shading before you even pick up pencil and tortillon. A lot of different ways to use this technique. Also very, you see it a lot in Da Vinci's work and other Renaissance sketching as a way to get shading with just one tool. you're going to end up with something like that, which looks very bold already. And one more thing I'm going to do before we move on to our next pattern is in each of these orbs that we drew to start making our Huggins, I'm going to do that technique where I make another orb inside without touching the edge of that orb, and then I'm then coloring it in almost all the way, but not quite. Where we get this sort of fisheye effect or caviar or pearl. And I like the way that looks. So I'm doing it. If you have a different vision for yours, you can do that. Actually, I'll show you another option that often ends up inside these orbs too, is like a flathead screw. If you just sort of bisect it with two parallel lines, and you can have them going in different directions. Gives it a little bit more of like a steampunk kind of a feel. Actually really like that too. So I might mix it up. You can have some screws and some orbs, whatever suits you. And maybe there's another third option we haven't yet thought of. Maybe you'll discover it tonight. I like the mix and match. That's fun. All right, how we doing? Everybody breathing? Having fun? Good. All right. So when you're ready, we're going to set our brown pen aside for a little while, and we're going to go to our black pen. We're going to work in the background. So in the background, we're going to do diva dance. You can do diva dance rock and roll. You can do like a crazy diva dance. You can mix it up. I'm going to try a lot of different ways to put diva dance down. I'll show you as we go along, and you can also feel free to mix and match, or once you find one that you like and if you want to stay in your groove, you can do that. You have two of these tiles, so you can use this one as your sort of experimental tile, and then on your own time you can do the second one, you know, in a more formal way, whatever you want to do. We're just playing, we are having fun, so don't be afraid to try a whole bunch of different things here. Okay, so diva dance rock and roll goes in a spiral. Think like printemps with an attitude. So it goes like this. I'm picking. I like these little crevices that are left by Huggins as places to start putting diva dance. So like one here, and there's one over here. So find a little space, and I start with a little circle. And then I start to spiral around. I just go one time around and then I stop. And then on top of this spiral, I'm going to add a little blop of ink, and I'm going to cover it in. And that little blop can be as demure or as bombastic as you want it to be. Okay. As effusive as you want it to be, or as shy as you want it to be. Okay, so I made that little blob. Then I'm going to pick up where I left off with that spiral, and I'm going to aura that blob, and then I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to add another blob on to the outside edge of that spiral, whatever shape you want it to be. So it could be a big one, it could be a little one, and then I'm going to color it in. Okay, and once I've colored it in, then I'm going to pick up where I left off with my spiral, and I'm going to make my way around. I'm going to aura that blob, and then I'm going to stop. And I try to put the next blob, it's not a very elegant word, in a place where I hadn't had some before. So like there's this little empty area over here. I'm going to add some. And I'm using that take off and land technique to kind of make it a slope. And then I'm going to pick up with my aura-ing and make my way around as far, I'm going to stop there because I realized I want to add a little bit more over here. And then once you get in close to your Huggins, you can draw behind. So imagine that this blob, this may not be the case on your tile, but this one for me is going to go underneath my Huggins. So it touches up against it. I imagine how it would go behind. And then I'm going to continue with my aura. Again, same thing, pretending that it goes behind that Huggins and around. I'm going to add a real crazy mountain of a blob there. If you keep your little hillocks, your little blobs closer to the line that you're drawing, they come out more like sort of rose shaped, and they're very pretty. I want to have a little bit more fun with mine and have them go a little crazier. So in this
Are we
little
trying
corner,
to stay inside the border? Like if I
yes,
hit the border, should I like draw behind the border?
yes, good question. Thank you. If you hit the border, like here, it's gonna happen for me in a second here. I'm gonna pretend that it goes behind, although you know what? It's probably great either way. Let's just see what happens. You're always going to draw behind your Huggins because we've already laid that down and you don't want to. Yeah, so I'm going to just go right up against it. But if I do this here, what's going to happen? It's fine either way. If you go over your border, it's totally great. In fact, it might be cool if you do it once or twice. So you can keep going with this circular diva dance, or once you've kind of hit the edge, you can allow a more linear diva dance to take over. So like here, if I continue this way, we were doing one like this last week. And don't be
Okay.
afraid of a lot of ink. The more bold you are, the more dramatic it will be.
So are we filling the whole background at this point?
Yes, we are filling the whole background with diva dance in whatever way you want to. So I've turned mine from a rock and roll into a more linear diva dance. If you want to mix it up, so I've had a little bit of a linear diva dance, but I could start another rock and roll right here. And by the way, if you have another vision for something else that might fit here in the background, like I know Amy, you recently taught bunzo, like you could throw some bunzo in there. Some more traditional striping would work. Something, just something with a lot of ink. And this takes some time, but I found it really enjoyable. And you get sort of creative as to how you fill in the background. So I filled in that little section, so I'm just gonna turn my tile, head in another quadrant and go from there. So I'm gonna pick up over here. So again, I'm just starting with my spiral and adding some ink growths along the way. Another thing you can do is if you make that blob shape before, instead of filling it in with ink, you could fill it in with orbs. Which is kind of a cool one too. It's not quite as bold as when you ink it in, but it gives it a really interesting texture. Check in with your breath. Check in with your pen grip. Come back to your intention. when I was watching the tutorial of the video that is like this, they do time lapse and they sort of fast forward through all of the drawing of this part. So it does take time. If you find yourself feeling impatient, just remind yourself that this is what you came here to do tonight. I'm saying that for me as much as for you. I don't always love the so much coloring in, but it provides such a great result. It's always worth it. We're going to take a few more minutes on this. I know that most of us won't be done with our background, but I want to get to show you the other elements of this tile so that if we don't get to finish everything tonight, you have what you need so that you can finish on your own. So please don't feel rushed, but just know that we probably won't fill the whole background right now. But I promise I'll give you everything you need so you know how to complete it on your own. Okay, so let's pause here. We may have time, we can come back to it. But let's do some shading and a bit with the border so that you have all the pieces and know where we're going. So let's go back to our crazy Huggins. And the first thing that we're gonna, yeah, I saw Michelle take a stretch. That's a great idea. Everybody take a stretch. Put your pens and pencils down for a moment. Reach your arms over your head. Oh, reach your arms out to the sides. Pull them back in space. Roll your shoulders up and back. It's a lot. It's a lot of drawing, a lot of focus. Oh, great. Okay, now let's take our white charcoal, our magic pencil, and in between the lines of our those tethered auras of our crazy Huggins, we're just going to add some white charcoal. So I'm trying not to touch the lines. I'm not going all the way to the edges. I'm just putting some nice bold strokes of white charcoal in the middle there. You know, and maybe there's not room in every single stripe to get some. That's okay. We're just going, hitting the middle of each one. Turn your tile so you don't smear your hand through the white. Or maybe that's just a me thing. Already, it's like jumping off the page. So cool. And actually, I don't know where you are with your backgrounds, but I kind of like that it's not all the way filled in the back. You could do something else there. What could it be? Something else could be like exploding out of that last corner. It's kind of interesting. And once you've done that, then we're going to go in with our red sanguine charcoal pencil over our eyelashes, for lack of a better descriptor, um, to add some more shading there. We're going to go around on all of them, and then we'll blend a bit with the tortillon. So you can use the same kind of motion of the pull towards you and releasing the pressure as you pull towards you. And you can come towards the white. You know, maybe sometimes they meet up, but we don't want to overlap. We'll blend them a little bit together with the tortillon. You can always go back in and add more of either the sanguine or the white charcoal as we go. I probably should have said this before. I'm trying to stay out of those orad lines that we made that divide the crazy Huggins. You know, with the pencil as the tip dulls, it gets harder to do, but that helps to define the space. between our different Huggins shapes. You do have that little eraser on the back of the sanguine pencil, so if some escapes, you can clean it up a little bit if you want to. I promise I won't tell. Okay, so after you've put down all the sanguine that you want, you can go in with your tortillon and just soften it up. I don't like to go too much into the white. I like to keep that pretty bold and untouched, but it is pretty when the sanguine meets the white a little bit and you get that little bit of pink blending. I'm using that same sort of flicking motion to bring the sanguine towards the white. That looks pretty cool. Great. And we can make it even a little bit more dramatic if we go in with our graphite pencil and just along that edge where we started our eyelashes from, we can add a little bit of graphite there too. So I'm just putting in a thin little layer, but I'm going pretty heavy, and then we'll blend it with the tortillon. Okay, so after you've laid down all the graphite that you want, just go in, just soften it with your tortillon. You don't want to move it too far because you really want the gradation of the graphite to the red to the white and leaving some of the tan. Have this little escaped graphite there, so I did use the eraser. Making little circles with my tortillon. Now, some people like to use a different tortillon for every color that they're using. you know, one for a white tortillon, one for graphite, maybe one for the red. I don't really mind it when they all kind of mix together because we're blending them all anyway. It's like people who like all their food separate on the plate or in those who don't. It's all going in the same place. Okay. There's a lot of depth and a lot of energy there. That's great. In a moment, I'm going to show you, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do with the border. So I did 4 different things, one, one on each side. So again, you can consider this tile that we're working on right now as sort of a practice. And you can try all 4 with me. I think it looks great with all 4, or maybe if you do it again, you may want to do, you know, a unified border all the way around. Totally up to you. But I was trying different things. I really liked them all, and it all kind of worked. I see heads down, so I see that you're still working. So I'll give another minute. Oh, another thing we should do before our border is with your charcoal pencil, if you want to just look up for a moment, we want to shade the background so that the Huggins comes to the surface and the Diva Dance goes back. So over top of Diva Dance, around the outside of Huggins, we can do some very bold shading to send Huggins to the background. I'm sorry, to send Diva Dance to the background and bring Huggins to the forefront. So I'm starting by going all the way around Huggins with a nice hearty dose of graphite. And for right now, I'm just going to do the parts where I've tangled already, but you could do the whole thing now. You can go back over any shading with a pen and it'll be fine. So up to you how you want to address the unfinished parts right now. I'm just going to do the part where I've put Diva Dance. And again, I'm kind of liking that it's not all filled in. Sort of interesting to me. And then you can soften that with your tortillon. You could do it on the outer edge too, where the border meets Diva Dance, if you'd like. Lots of different options. Okay, but I'm going to leave mine like that for right now. Okay, let's go back to our brown pen and let's play around with the border for a bit. So the first one that I did, and to me, this is the top edge. I don't know, this orientation is just feeling right, but doesn't matter. In that border that we did right at the very beginning, I'm going to use that space for this first edge, and I'm going to fill it with big orbs. So I'm going to do one whole one that kind of fills in there, and then the whole row of them are going to sort of fall behind that one that came first. If you run up against a pattern that's already there, draw behind. You can let your orbs come into the space a little bit the interior if you want. You can let them go over.
Cantor Mike, I'm sorry, is this black or the brown or the red?
It's brown, but if you started with black, that's okay too.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to set the border away from the and you can fill in the little interstices, the little like V's that are left in between with ink. And this might be something you don't have time for right now, but you can always come back and do it later. So, and you could do these orbs all the way around, all four sides, and that would look great. Like I said, I couldn't decide what I wanted for the border, so I just did something different on every side. So now with the orbs on my left-hand side, now I'm going to do one of my favorites, you know, the Charlie Brown zigzag down this next section here. This is probably my favorite border tangle. It's a little tricky knowing where to end it, but I just kind of like let it fall off there. And for this one, you do want to close, you do want to draw over the pen line sorry, the pencil line when we made our border. So we close off the edge, the ends of the triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on both sides when where necessary. I don't have to do it down the whole interior because we have tangles there. And then once you've done your zigzag, put a dot inside each triangle that you've created. And then you connect the dot with a line from each corner. And you get these incredible facets. Do you see how that's happening when you put the dot inside the triangle and then you connect the dot to each corner? So down another side here, I wanted to bring back this this curved shape that we put inside of our crazy huggin. So I'm still with my brown pen. I haven't changed. Um, Wherever your this triangle border ended up, let's do that curving. It's a backwards S is what's happening here. We were doing this last week too with those when we did these. Here, I'll show you. Remember these from last week? It's that same curving shape. We're going to do that down this side here. Get a little creative down at the bottom, how it ends up. Have to use your imagination. And you can do the same thing that we were doing with the orbs and kind of fill in the interstices, the little spaces that are left behind. Give it a little bit more definition, kind of curving it around and filling in a little bit. You can do it on the other side too, on the outer edge. And in the last, on the last side, I put a tangle called Doodah, which is really fun, from Zippity Doodah. It looks like a zipper. Doodah is also a great border tangle. So I'll show you. It's very, very simple, but it looks great. So start from the top and come almost all the way down to the bottom, but don't touch down. Here, I'm all the way down in this corner here. And then start from the bottom and go almost to the top, but don't go to the top. And then top almost to bottom, bottom almost to top. And you just go back and forth all the way across the line. And it looks like a zipper. And I suppose you could go along this outer edge to here to delineate with the pen if you want to. I think that helps define it a little bit more. So real quick on 1 foot shading, because I want to honor everyone's time. The idea to shade these borders for all of them is to put a highlight in the middle. So like for the orbs, I'm just putting a whole bunch of white in the center. I'm not touching the outer edge. I'm just kind of putting some right. I'm sort of, it's on one side, inside, I don't know. You can see. And then with Doodah, I just sort of went and put some lines of highlight down the center there. On these wrapping coils, again, just like we did with the design inside of Huggins, some highlight in the middle of each one of those. And with the triangular pattern, I just kind of hit some of the tiny little triangles towards the middle, not every single one, but I just added a little bit here and there to kind of highlight the ones in the middle as if they were standing out a bit above all the others. You don't have to be real precise. There's not a lot of rhyme or reason about it. You could shade with the sanguine, you could shade with the graphite pencil. So why don't you go ahead and with whatever color you want, go ahead and put your chop on your tile on the front. Then you can turn it over. We don't have lines on the back of this, but if you care to record, it's from Project Pack 28. This is day 3. It's Zentangle with Temple Sinai. Put your name on it, and the date is the 28th. And just to give you a taste, although I kind of like it like this, it's a little bit deconstructed. Here is the finished product when you do the whole background and add some shading, but it's interesting this way too. It has a different feel. I'm going to take my spotlight off so that you can all share your tiles. How'd you do? And feel free to unmute and share your feedback. Oh, they look great. Gorgeous. Wow. Really, really nice. Beautiful. Okay, yeah. So I totally underestimated how much time this would take. I could see how much you have left. So I'm sorry for poor planning on my part, but these look wonderful. Do you feel like you have enough to know how to finish on your own?
Yep.
You have? Okay, good. I hope that you do. And
I like it deconstructed though. It's
yeah,
kind
I
of
do too. I really,
Pompeii-ish.
I think it's very interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
so please, I hope that you, whether you decide to finish or you think you decide you like it the way it is, send me pictures if you work on it some more. I'd love to see. But I hope this was fun. I like the look of these tiles. I think they're very, very bold and powerful.
Thank you. This was fun. The whole series was fun. Look forward.
Yes,
Good.
it was.
Right.
And easy. Just, I mean, this was, I don't want to say it was tedious, but it just took time.
Yeah.
And but a great result.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
result. And hopefully, like the repetitiveness of it is part of the meditation. Lets
Yeah.
us settle into doing something that we know where we're going next. We know how to do it. So yeah, thank you everyone. So our
Thank
next one,
you. Thank
when
you,
do
my
we
Thank
have
darling.
our
you.
next
You
series? March,
Cantor.
May?
Time well spent.
All right, everyone. Have a great evening.
Good
Stay
night.
warm. See you
Bye.
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
My pleasure.